our driving habits as motorists, ensure correct tire pressure, balancing and wheel alignment, plan and combine of trips to avoid unnecessary journeys, drive at lower than the speed limit. All these actions, amongst others, will help you to save fuel and contain cost. Going forward on a policy level, South Africa needs to ensure that the framework for the exploration and production of oil and gas is finalized through the Minerals and Petroleum Resources Development Act, the MPRDA, in the short term, a process that is unfolding in Parliament. We believe that this will encourage oil and gas exploration on the territorial waters of our country, which in the long run will benefit oil as well as gas consumers. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Radebe. Before I invite hands for comments and questions, I'm going to invite Minister Nene to comment, if there's any comment. Minister?
Thank you. Where's the button?
Yes,
No, thank you, Minister. I think Minister Radebe has covered everything, in particular in addressing the medium to short term, short to medium term. But long term also, I think among the discussions was also a particular focus by government on the public transport, making sure that consumers are actually, or commuters are also able to be taken care of in that space. But perhaps with that, I think Minister Radebe has covered everything. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Nene. May I invite Cape Town first, if there are any questions that side?
We have no questions yet, Minister.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much. Then let's come to the house here. I'll give you numbers. That would be number one. Any other hand? So this is the only hand. Thank you. You may go in.
Afternoon, Slowett from Moneyweb. Minister, if I heard you correctly, you said the VAT Commission's mandate could be extended. And I think Treasury yesterday issued a statement that said it hasn't been extended. What does it mean if you say it could? Is it being considered, or, I mean, anything could happen? Could you just clarify what it means, please?
Thank you. As you know, there are legal implications. When it was established, the matter was gazetted. So it will have to follow due process, and it would be. It is for that reason that we were careful in not saying that it will be. We're saying it could be extended because we are in conversation with the committee, but also looking at the legal processes that would enable us to do that.
Sorry, does it mean that you actually want to do it?
It is the intention. It is that was the resolution of the meeting yesterday. It is the intention. It actually is seen as the best vehicle of processing views of people, because what the committee will be doing, as it is doing on the VAT process, is to take views so that we can then process those views and be able to come up with an informed position. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other taker? Cape Town is still fine.
Very
Yes, Minister, still fine.
Okay. On this side, we're done. Thank you very much. For further inquiries, feel free to communicate with the Department of Energy through Minister Radebe's communications team and supported by TCIS. We're now going to also invite Sandile Sisulu and Jason Sisulu, as well as the representative of the Nelson Mandela Foundation, to come to the podium so that Minister Jeff Radebe may then come on to the next part of this media briefing by government with regard to the celebrations of the centenary.
I thought you started with first level.
Okay, that was an interministerial committee meeting talking, among others, about the fuel issue here in South Africa. We did expect an announcement on the Nelson Mandela Centenary celebrations, but we'll just keep a close eye on that, and as it comes up, keep it locked onto SABC, and we'll update you as the day progresses. Let's move on now. And human remains have been discovered in what appears to be a lion attack at a game reserve just outside Port Alfred in the Eastern Cape.
Game reserve owners and the police suspect the incident is linked to rhino poaching. At the end of last year, just over 1,000 rhinos had been poached in South Africa.
As I've said, we've got Andy Swazi Kilashe from the Nelson Mandela Museum, Sandile Sisulu and Jason Sisulu. We're going to invite Minister Jeff Radebe, the chairperson of the Interministerial Committee on the centenary celebrations of Umamu Sisulu, as well as Utatu Nelson Mandela. Minister Radebe.
Thanks, colleague, and other colleagues who are present from the IMC, as well as from the Nelson Mandela Museum and the Sisulu grandchildren. Welcome. The Interministerial Committee met last week, Friday, the 29th June, and we are delighted to share upcoming activities and progress report on the implementation of the comprehensive national program for the centenary of both two of our struggle icons, Nelson Mandela, under the theme Be the Legacy, as well as Mama Albertina Nontsikelelo Sisulu under the theme A Woman of Fortitude. These celebrations are a major milestone in the incredible story of both Nelson Mandela and Albertina Sisulu in our nation's journey to freedom and liberation. The centenary celebrations of these two icons have a significant impact in bridging diverse South Africans together. These celebrations are meant to highlight the principles as well as the values that they espoused as great Africans and to galvanize the spirit of national pride and Ubuntu. It is envisaged that the messages being shared through these celebrations will contribute to the removal of obstacles that divide us as we strive to build upon the many ties that bind us together. The objectives of the centenary programs are as follows: to encourage all sectors of the South African population to give an amount of time to make every day a Mandela Day, to use the Nelson Mandela and Albertina Sisulu centenary celebration as a vehicle to actively promote social cohesion, nation building, and inclusive citizenship, to promote a national identity that celebrates its cultural diversity, to create awareness through educational programs, dialogues, and public engagements on the importance and relevance of Nelson Mandela and Albertina Sisulu's values and their legacy, to promote active participation in the commemoration and celebration of national days by all South Africans. These objectives are in line with our Constitution, our National Development Plan, our medium-term strategic framework, and Outcomes 14 in particular of our program of action. In its entirety, through specifically sub-outcome 3, which is promoting social cohesion across society through increased interaction across race and class. To date, many activities were held to celebrate the legacy of these two freedom fighters. On behalf of the government, we thank all those who participated and continue to do so in the centenary events. Notable activities include the following. On the 26th May, the Department of Sports and Recreation paid tribute to Nelson Mandela by dedicating the 2018 Regional Annual Sports Awards to his memory. The department also used this event to remind South Africans about Madiba's love for sports and encourage them to continue reflecting on his values and transformation as well as passion. We also acknowledge the Motsepe Foundation for honoring Madiba through a football match between Mamelodi Sundowns and Barcelona, which was played at Soccer City on the 5th of May. The Department of Education had several programs themed #Mandela 100 and #Masisulu 100, and hosted events that included a youth dialogue and Africa Day celebration as part of Youth Month celebration. Basic Education also partnered with the Motsepe Foundation to host the annual ABC Motsepe South African Schools Choir Easternford at the Rema Bible Church. The choirs recited the preamble of the country's constitution along with the African Union anthem, as well as songs that are dedicated to our centenarians, Tata Mandela and Mama Sisulu. Sports and Recreation also dedicated the 2018 Comrades Marathon to the memory of Mandela. On the international side, the government of Mauritania, on the 2nd of July, renamed the main streets in the capital Nouakchott after Tata Mandela. This initiative provides a clear demonstration of the influence that Mandela continues to have around the continent and across the globe. We also acknowledge all sectors of society, business, and the media partners for their contributions in making sure that the centenary messages reach multitudes of South Africans, in particular SABC, for a number of radio and TV programs and events, including the widely viewed 15-day countdown online radio called Radio Mandela that was launched on 4th July. We also thank MultiChoice for establishing a channel for Mandela, Media 24 for launching the 100 Mandelas campaign, and we congratulate the young people that have been nominated. We also encourage them to continue pursuing the principles of Madiba in their respective roles in our society. Mandela Fridays, #Mandela Fridays, this initiative was introduced to encourage society at large to commemorate Nelson Mandela Centenary through social activism and observe every last Friday of the month. We encourage everyone from across the world to join on and show their support for #Mandela Fridays on social media platforms. Mandela Month. This month of July, we celebrate the birth of the founding father of our democracy under the theme, as we have said, Be the Legacy, celebrating the birth of a world icon and a life of service. This year, the International Nelson Mandela Day coincides with Madiba's centenary and presents us with an opportunity to reflect on his legacy and continue to honor Mandela's work for societal liberation. The 2018 Nelson Mandela Day comes at a crucial time in South Africa, where we are facing social and economic challenges, including the abuse of women and children, high unemployment rate, poverty, crime, and corruption. This Mandela Month is a national call to action for every citizen to play their part in addressing some of the issues in their respective communities. Mandela Day should remain a day of service, and it should not lose its essence. As we approach the day of Tata's birth, we encourage all sectors of society to recommit to making the year 2018 be remembered as the time in which transformation gained traction in our beloved country, not just as a populist slogan, but as a call of action for doing things differently. We therefore call on all sectors of society to ensure the sustainability of Mandela Day's activities. The 18th of July should not be isolated for acts of service. Let us make Mandela Day about sustainable partnerships. Let us do our bit to build on the foundation laid by these iconic leaders and make our country a better place to live on. In striving to achieve that, the Interministerial Committee has requested ministers, deputy ministers, and all members of executives to identify projects and activities for Nelson Mandela Centenary Month. The updated schedule of activities will be uploaded on government website, and through these acts of service, it is our considered view that elected public representatives will be doing their part to be the legacy in the communities that they visit. Highlight activities leading to Mandela Day. There will be many activities taking place as a build-up to the 18th of July. On Monday, the 9th of July, there will be a Global Citizen Festival launch, and this launch will bring about public excitement around the upcoming festival planned for December in celebrating of Mandela Centenary. From the 9th to the 15th of July will be National Imbizo Focus Week, where ministers and other government officials will have outreach activities across different provinces seeking to address service delivery issues and raise awareness about the upcoming centenary celebration. 10 July 2018, as we have heard yesterday, hashtag 100 Men March Against Violence of Women and Children. In the spirit of Tumamina, our government and various social partners will host a national 100 Men March in honor of the centenary of Mandela and Mama Sisulu. Both these stalwarts committed their lives to the fight for human rights, particularly the rights of women and children. A special orchid named after Albertina Sisulu will be unveiled on the 10th of July by the Departments of Environmental Affairs and Tourism at the Walter Sisulu National Botanical Gardens, Roodepoort in Johannesburg. In addition, the departments will also unveil the Sisulu Circle and Bronze Bust head and chest statue to mark 15 years since the garden was renamed Walter Sisulu Botanical Garden from the Witwatersrand Botanical Garden. The renaming was initiated in 2003, and the garden finally changed its name in 2004. 10 to 11 July, the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund Youth Summit. This event will be hosted by the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund in partnership with the Department of Tourism and Parliament of South Africa. The summit deliberations will focus on social justice, social entrepreneurship, domestic tourism, and freedom of expression, with the targeted guest of children and youth under the age of 22 years. 15 July, 100 athletes, including the inspirational amputee Xolani Luvuno, who ran the Comrades Marathon in June, will be part of 100 runners who will run 100 kilometers to celebrate 100 years of Nelson Mandela in Mthatha. The run will start at Clarksbury near Ngcobo to Mandela's birthplace at Mvezo. 17 July, the 16th Nelson Mandela Annual Lecture. The Nelson Mandela Foundation will host the 16th Nelson Mandela Annual Lecture on Tuesday, 17 July at the Wanderers Stadium in Ilovo, Johannesburg. The lecture will be delivered by former US President Barack Obama. Opening and handing over of sports facility, Sports and Recreation South Africa, under the guidance of Minister Xhasa, will officially open and hand over a sports facility at Hlokotlo Township in the Elias Motsoaledi municipality. This event will commence with an I Choose to Be Active 5-kilometer walk starting at 6 a.m. in the morning to the stadium. This platform will be utilized also to encourage members of the community to get physically active in line with one of the values of Mandela. The minister will also hand over sports equipment to local schools and sports clubs at the end of the walk. The launch of National Netball Championships. Sport and Recreation South Africa and Netball South Africa will join hands in celebrating the centenary of Mama Albertina Sisulu during the launch of the National Netball Championships taking place in the Eastern Cape, where Mama Albertina Sisulu once lived. The family will be presented with a symbol of appreciation for Mama Sisulu's sacrifices during the fight for liberation. This token will be presented by the Deputy Minister of Sport and Recreation, Minister Gert Oosthuizen, during the official opening on Monday, the 7th July, at the Lotto Young Park Tennis Center in Port Elizabeth. 17 to 21 July, the Mandela Cup Amateur Boxing Tournament. The tournament will be held at Mthatha. Elite female and male boxers from southern African countries are expected to participate in this competition. The South African women's hockey to celebrate Nelson Mandela Day in the UK. The team is expected to leave South Africa for London this week to compete in the Women's Hockey World Cup from the 28th July to the 5th of August and will celebrate Nelson Mandela Day in the United Kingdom, committing to the call for action. Social media activation. Share how you will make a meaningful difference this Mandela Day using the hashtags #Mandela100 and #Mandela Day. Activities to be hosted by the Department of Arts and Culture. 18 July, Mandela Letters production at the Market Theatre. 18th and 19th July, memorial lectures on Robben Island. 8 to 18 July, the Mandela Museum in Mthatha will host a arts festival. Actually, it's in August. The Africa Cultural Seasons Exchange Program will be themed around Mandela's life and legacy in Kenya, Angola, and Ghana. International activations. Brand SA continues with the celebrations of the Nelson Mandela Centenary through its international offices. The China office, in collaboration with the South African Embassy in Beijing, will host a Nelson Mandela Day 67 minutes activation at a Chinese school for disadvantaged children on 18 July in remembrance of Mandela. In the UK, a 6-week activation alongside British Council Museum is currently underway. A life-size prison cell where Mandela spent most of his life on Robben Island will be erected in the National Mall outside the British Council offices so that passers-by can have a feel of what Mandela lived in whilst on Robben Island. All the embassies are also encouraged to participate in the centennial celebrations. For more information, the comprehensive list of activities has been loaded on the Mandela web page, which can be accessed by visiting that web page. A comprehensive list of upcoming activities will also be attached in the statement. Nelson Mandela Day. We are delighted to announce that today marks 12 days to the International Nelson Mandela Day on the 18th of July. This year's 18th of July will not be observed as a normal International Mandela Day, where citizens across the globe donate 67 minutes of their time performing only acts of good deeds to those in need, but also must be used as an opportunity for all of us to remember the time in which transformation gained traction in our country and celebrate the men who made a meaningful contribution. We ought to tap into Mandela's values and aspirations for the type of South Africa he would have wanted to see and ask ourselves what we are doing on a daily basis to be and to live his legacy. Guided by the spirit of Tumamina, the South African government will not be hosting an official event to celebrate, but have declared 18 July a National Day of Service. In his words, Nelson Mandela once said, What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life we lead. Close quotes. On the 18th July, the National Day of Service, we encourage all South Africans to go out in their numbers like never before and make this day extra special. Follow Tata's footsteps to make a difference by donating your time towards disadvantaged communities and inspire a positive change that promotes the culture of Ubuntu as well as humanitarian support. All South Africans are welcome to lay flowers and candles at any Nelson Mandela statue, structure, school or street which bear the father of our nation's name as a way of remembering our beloved father of the nation. We further call on all society on the day of service to pause their activities at 12 midday and observe a moment of silence, unity and mediation, remembering what Nelson Mandela meant to me. At this moment, if our citizens will join hands in a human chain for this symbolic act of unity, it would be a fitting tribute to the man who took our country, this continent, and indeed the world in his hands, but has left us the mission of being the legacy he left. His Excellency the President Ramaphosa will visit Mvezo in the Eastern Cape for his contribution to the National Day of Service, which will form part of the humanitarian activities for the day. The key word for the day is change. We should strive to change the world and make it a better place for all. It is in our hands to make a difference, as he said in 2009. As we continue with the centenary celebrations of both these icons, our government has dedicated this year's Women's Month to deepen centenary celebrations of Mama Sisulu as a selfless and a courageous leader who will be celebrated for her contribution to the cause of democracy and the fight for women's empowerment and gender equality. In conclusion, may we strive to work together to make 2018 be remembered as the time in which transformation gained traction in our country. We want to continue to provide progress and updates as we continue these celebrations of this struggle icons for the remainder of the year, and I thank you.
Thank you very much. That was the presentation of the program. I'm going to invite hands, questions, if there are any from Cape Town.
No, Minister, we don't have questions in Cape Town. Thank you.
Thank you. Gauteng. There's nothing.
That's good.
Going one, going two, going three. Have a good weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you. Thank you. All the best. Thank you.